thanks for getting us ready for arriving safely to Mars for the supermoon party, Lee. What are some of the dangers we should watch out for?
Yeah, so even if Mars looks like a dusty planet, there are a lot of dangers which are on the planet. So even though it's dusty and then loads of sandstorms and everything like that, the dust is like a massive fog which sometimes can encompass the entire planet and everything. Also as well, the temperatures go down so low, they're actually lower than Antarctica at some of the time. So all the astronauts would have to wear really protective suiting literally all the time they're on the planet.
Wow, so we are going to have to keep an eye out for that.
Definitely. So if there is a sandstorm, how do we make sure we can protect ourselves against the strong winds?
So on Mars, basically the sandstorm is like having a really dusty fog, like I said. So it isn't such much a storm as anything, but the storms can encompass the entire planet. So some of the big storms we've had recently have gone around the whole distance around the planet and take a couple of months to actually subside. So the way they'd have to protect themselves, they'd have to get either into their protective habitats or use really protective gear. So they'd have to stay into their cars and everything that they'd use on Mars. And as long as it's sealed to the atmosphere, because the atmosphere is so thin there as well, they wouldn't be able to breathe in or anything. So they'd have to make sure that they've got enough oxygen, either in the protective habitat or in the rovers that they use on Mars to get around. And as long as they've got that, they'd be able to breathe. And as long as they've got the food and everything as well, they'll be great.
Wow. Do you ever think there's a possibility? How long would it be until, we can go to space and live on Mars ourselves?
So going to space and living on Mars, that's going to be hopefully quite soon, in the next decade or so. Elon Musk and everything like that, we're planning on getting to Mars really soon as we can. It's really exciting because all the astronauts is already being prepped. There's already a program called Mars One, which has already picked the astronauts ready to go to Mars. When they get there as well, the first thing they've got to do is find a location which is going to be absolutely ideal for them, because it can't be too far in the open because they've got to have enough protected elements. But it also can't be so they're next to rocks or anything, because in case there's any Mars quakes. So on Mars you get Mars quakes, on Earth we get earthquakes. So Mars has tectonic shifts and everything like that, and what they can do is if they're too close to a cliff or next to a crater, that could cause a lot of damage for them as well. So they've got to pick the right area where they can land on. When they get there as well, they've also got to subtly set up their habitat, because your rocket won't make you survive for that long. You need to set up your habitat, you need to get your oxygen going, you need to get your food growing and everything like that. But as long as that's done, in theory, we could actually survive there for a very long time.
Wow.
Sian, make sure you remember that, because we'll need to know it in the future.
I know. We'll be living there soon.
Oh, yeah, we will.
Oh, and I will, memory of steel. And we have our space cadets here with us listening along too.
Lee, is there a certain amount of time we can spend on Mars before it starts to become unsafe?
So there isn't actually a specific amount of time you can spend on Mars. It literally comes down to how much oxygen you can produce, how much food you can produce, your habitat, because obviously, the only power on Mars, there's no power stations, there's no plugs you can just plug your iPhone into or anything like that. You'd have to create your own power, and the only way to do that on Mars would be through solar panels. Obviously with the dust, it creates a lot of dust which will settle on the solar panels, so that stops your energy growing. So you have to constantly go out and clean all your energy inputs and everything and make sure your food's growing. So normally, even though there isn't a limit, normally missions last between 18 months to 3 years, that's the estimate at the moment. We've never actually been there yet, so it'll be exciting because if you look in the film The Martian, we can go there and indefinitely survive and hopefully plant some potatoes.
Oh well, wow, we should definitely see if we're only going for a couple hours.
I love that film.
Last week actually in the news they found an obelisk on Mars which is about 300 foot tall, which cannot be natural.
Oh,
and that's actually in scientific papers.
So next question, if we went to Mars, how could we get water there?
So from putting up satellites around Mars, we've actually, with them satellites, they actually have radar on, so the radar can penetrate the ground. And we've actually detected water in some of the deeper craters under the surface. And there's also water which we can see even from the naked eye from Earth here. We can see the polar caps are covered in ice. So a way of getting water is actually to go either to the poles or to drill down to the water that's underneath the surface, bring it up. And with that water as well, you can't just, it's not just being able to drink it. You can turn that into oxygen, and you can also turn it into hydrogen as well, which will give you fuel to get back off the planet.
Wow, we need to remember that, Sian. We really do.
These Cosmic Explorers need some water to get them to the next planets.
Exactly. So what's the weather like on Mars, Lee?
So the weather on Mars, it's generally like quite dusty. So it's a very, very thin atmosphere on Mars. So that even though you get like some clouds and bits going across, it's not as heavy as Earth where we get like massive rain or, lovely sunshine. There isn't such extremes as such. It does get very cold at night though, so it can go actually below the minus scale. And at night and during the day, it can get really hot. So it's almost like the moon in a sense, that, with extreme temperature changes. So because of the atmosphere, like I said, there's very little atmosphere. So the astronauts would have to protect themselves in their suits constantly if they're out walking around the planet and everything. And then they'd obviously have to make sure as well, because of the thin atmosphere, there's no radiation protection because there's almost like no ozone protecting from the sun. So it'd be like standing out in a nice summer day, but without having any sunscreen on. So they'd have to make sure they protect themselves all the time.
Oh wow, Sian, we better pack sun cream and blankets by the sounds of it.
Definitely factor 5,000.
Lee, are we likely to bump into any aliens during our time on Mars?
Well, I can't answer that exactly, but I'd like to think that there is possibly life out there somewhere. And if, a better place to start, why not our nearest neighbour, Mars, in space? I mean, we have seen some very strange things in the past, like the face on Mars that looks like a human face coming up out of the planet and things like that. But, if it is aliens, well, I don't know.
Well, we should definitely keep an eye out on our next visit because, might make some new friends.
We might, you never know. And I bet you we'll definitely not be not alone. So, Lee, why would our Cosmic Explorers even want to go to Mars in the first place?
Well, why not? Mars has always been in our night skies, even from early BC times. Everyone's looked up and seen this gorgeous little red glowing star and then suddenly realised that it actually wasn't a star, it's a planet. And then we started looking into it a bit more and we saw it as our nearest neighbour. And in the early days, we looked up and all the craters and everything, early astronomers used to look up and think there were canals. So we thought Mars was occupied and it was aliens on Mars, riding canal boats, down these lovely canals and everything on Mars. And then we sent a satellite there and realised actually it's just this dust planet. But then we thought, well, why not go there? It's our nearest neighbour. As a race, we look up and we've seen all this beauty in the space and everything like that. And we see all these lovely planets and we've sent out loads of satellites, and up till the moon, we've never actually been anywhere else. The moon is just a desolate place, but even so, it's absolutely beautiful. When Neil Armstrong stepped out, he said he couldn't believe the amount of beauty that he saw, when he saw Earth rising as a planet in the distance. And I think for us to go to Mars and for us to step on another planet and be able to say, I am the first human being on this new world, I think that would be an amazing accomplishment. And I think all our young explorers should go there as well, because this is where the future is, out there. Our future is not on our planet. Our future is out there in space. And Mars is just one of the 8 planets we got on the umpteen hundreds of planetoids we've got going around our sun, amongst all the billions of stars in our galaxy and the billions of galaxies in, our local area. So, why not want to know what's out there?
Well, definitely. And enjoyed that question. I think it was my favourite.
I'm so excited to go now. I can't wait.
Well, thank you so much, Lee, for coming and helping us out today. We're definitely more prepared for our trip.
Definitely, and I think we'll take it into account.
Oh, definitely. We have lots of tips and tricks now for our journey.
And remember to put them suits on.
Yes.
And our sun cream and blankets.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Lee.
You're welcome.